In today's day and age, it seems that games are born into existence only for them to live a short, meaningless life before being killed off and added to the ever-growing pile of shut-down live service games. Why do so many games end up in this pile, and how long can the live service industry survive before a major shift in the games market is needed? Who knows? But the number of live service games that have been shut down is almost uncountable. These are just a few examples that shut down in 2023. We have Knockout City, Crossfire X, Babylon's Fall, and Marvel's Avengers. And those are just a few examples of games that have lived and died ungracefully. These titles just add to the pile of garbage that is the live service industry. Alright, with that said, why are these games failing, you might ask? Well, let's dive into it. Now, we've all heard and understand by now how always online works, and how that particular concept has infiltrated the gaming industry as a whole. Every time one of the new games is announced and released, we can pretty much assume day one will be a total mess. Or even more infuriating, play early, with pre-ordering or even the release week being unplayable. From servers constantly crashing, to not being able to log into the game to play it, even if you wanted to play by yourself. Always online in the majority of cases goes hand in hand with an unplayable or severely impacted release date experience. This is especially infuriating if you wanted to play single player. Why do I need to be logged into your servers to play by myself? Well, we know why. Even more infuriating is that these games boast their always online features and do not properly test their servers, leading to constant disconnects, lag, and bugs that affect the user experience. I mean, if we were to take the number of times that I have disconnected due to my own internet versus how many times the game servers have crapped out on, the ratio would be crazy. Alright, so always online after the first week, the problems usually subside. However, this leads to other problems, such as what happens when the games get shut down. As the statistics say that most live service games will lose support eventually, well, then you're out of luck, I guess. Take The Crew, for example. One of Ubisoft's biggest franchises has now announced that they will be taking down their servers for the game. And after that point, you will never be able to play that game again, regardless of whether you have a physical copy or it's installed on your hardware. Let alone the fact that it was leaked that the game does indeed have an offline mode, but the Ubisoft devs encrypted it, and that option is turned off. This is just a couple of examples of how live service games are in today's modern age of gaming ruining the market. Once we actually get into these games, what can we expect? Let's take a recent example of Payday 3. At the time of writing this, the game lacks basic features that are essential to an online co-op experience, like voice chat, for example. Why is it that the third installment in this popular franchise is missing this key feature? Especially when they push matchmaking so hard on the player. Not to mention terrible performance for a lot of users and a multitude of missing features from Payday 2. At this very instant of writing this script, Payday 2 is sitting at 29,000 players versus Payday 3 at 472. The numbers speak for themselves. This is not the only example, of course. Who could forget Redfall? Back 4 Blood was a hype train that flew straight off the rails. Battlefield 2042 has been abandoned, and even more recently, Halo Infinite has been mostly shut down with no more seasons planned and only a core team of developers left. Of course, there are outliers like Fortnite, Warframe that are doing well. Sea of Thieves and No Man's Sky have been reborn from their ashes like a phoenix. They have stuck to their guns and kept the games going. But they were not without their own set of issues at their respective launch dates. And they are the few outliers that make the live format work for them. However, it is impossible to ignore how many of the live service games do not end up succeeding and end up getting shut down. I mean, take Marvel's Avengers. It's a perfect example of the most live service games and their life cycle. The development cycle of these games is also so long nowadays that chasing trends through a live service game usually ends up with the game releasing either way too early, missing lots of content and features that will be added in the future, followed up by a dev letter saying how sorry they are and a half-baked apology, or way too late and they missed the hype trend that they were relying on to capitalize. The Battle Royale genre is a great example of this. These long development cycles take time and money, which result in the game needing to make money. And how do they do that? What do that mean for monetization in these games? Well, let's take a quick peek and see what the monetization of live service games look like.
Money.
The rising popularity of games as a service has increased both the cost of games and the time needed to be put into those games. With almost every game nowadays having a seasonal battle pass, micro and macro transactions, it feels more like the games you buy are more of an entry ticket, like when you go to the state fair. You pay upfront for your ticket cost, only to realize that once inside you need to pay even more to do all the activities inside. Gone are the days of earning your favorite armor set in Halo upon completing the game on Legendary, or even earning that one camo for your gun in Call of Duty by getting X amount of headshots. Live service games take most of these things out of their games and lock them behind paywalls, or an egregious grind fest for the free variants, which, in my personal opinion, in most cases are not as good as the paid ones, of course. There are so many examples of this, I can't possibly name them all, but here are a few. Diablo 4, Halo Infinite, Rainbow Six Siege, and I know that one, Call of Duty, Battlefield 2042, and Marvel's Avengers. Most of these games have an upfront cost of $60 to $70 and add a battle pass to the equation plus skins, XP boosts, level shortcuts, and probably a few that I'm missing. But also, an incomplete storyline such as the recent Suicide Squad, where, spoilers if anyone cares, 11 more Brainiacs are to be defeated over the course of probably 11 more seasons, all with their unique battle pass, if the game is supported long enough, that is. As it stands on the day of release, it's not looking good though. Now, let's talk about microtransactions. Now, when do these become macro transactions? $10, $15, $20? Because the definition of microtransaction is as follows: a very small transaction conducted online. Now, I don't know about y'all, but these prices don't sound micro to me. Paying $15 or 25% of a game's cost for a skin is not a very small financial transaction to me. Now, if these cosmetics are the only thing being sold, they're optional and you might say that you don't have to buy them. I agree with you. People can choose to buy them or not. That's how the free market works. However, I just wanted to bring attention to these things because I see it as a slippery slope that can eventually lead to some unfortunate future for video games. Take WoW with their level boost and Battlefield 2042 with their level boost as well. These are paid for convenience and power, and personally, I'm not a fan. Quickly, I just wanted to bring up the time aspect of these games, as in my opinion, time is a sort of currency. If you're like me and work full time, for example, the amount of free time you have for video games in this case is limited, as I have other priorities I need to take care of before playing video games. I don't feel nowadays that most games respect my time. Battle passes take forever to grind if you buy them, let alone if you buy them for multiple games. An endless list of dailies and weekly objectives that never ends. It's like a carrot on a stick. Oh, and one more, weekly and maybe you'll get that camo out of this loot box. Frankly, there isn't enough time for me to care about all these additional time sinks and grind fests. And in my opinion, it's no surprise that only a handful of these live service games survive and go on to thrive, especially when they are paid games. I'm not talking about Fortnite here. I don't even want to start talking about sports games, as the issue is abhorrent there, and really I don't see it getting better anywhere because these companies make record profits every year.
There is hope for you.
Now, with all that said, is there a solution to this? Well, not really. As I said before, the free market will decide what succeeds and fails. I think time will tell on how live service games are handled in the future. However, personally, I think something will have to change in order for these companies to not bomb game after game and lose millions of dollars. After all, they are a business and need to make money, and I understand that. And if no one is playing your live service game, you're not making any money. Personally, recently I found myself looking more into different types of games, especially the indie game scene, where, in my opinion, this has blown up over the last couple of years. These games might not have the broad scope promised by some AAA companies, but I feel like these games respect my time so much more. Obviously, 2023 Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate 3 is an outlier example and more of a AA studio, but that game was a breath of fresh air when I felt like I was drowning in a sea of battle passes. But other games as For the King 1 and 2, Across the Obelisk, Circuit Superstars, which I made a video about, Curious Expedition 2, Labyrinthian, and Vampire Survivors are a few examples of these indie games. Of course, there will be bad indie games, but I have a backlog of games that I cannot wait to try, and a couple coming out soon that I'm excited to try this year that can't really be said for any AAA games coming out this year, at least for me. The excitement for me is not there. Sure, the trailers look cool, but I'm tired of amazing cinematic trailers with lackluster soulless gameplay on arrival. And This is not to say that the AAA industry has not popped out some bangers. I think 2023 was a great year for games, but also we cannot forget about all the trash that came out alongside of it. Anyways, my rant is over. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree with what I said? What would you like for the future of the gaming industry? I hope you have a good day. Hit that subscribe and like button if you enjoyed any part of this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.